All right. Hello. Welcome, everybody. Hope you're having a great first day of more dreaming. My name is Jordan Chapper from Sercante, and I'll be moderating this session. Before we get started, a few housekeeping items. Just to quickly remind y'all, these sessions are being recorded, and you will be able to access them on demand afterwards. And then, especially with this session, if you have any questions, please post them in Q&A. There will be multiple times that we'll be able to answer them live. So I want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to have your questions answered. And then lastly, throughout the entire time, just make sure you use the chat and keep interacting with everybody. But let's get started. I'll pass it on to Jacob Catalano, who is going to be the on-screen moderator for this session.
All right. Good afternoon. Yeah, it is afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Also, good afternoon from Dallas on my part. Real quick, if I could just get a few people in chat to post some heres and yes and comments, just make sure everyone can see the screen and the slides. That would be very helpful. Perfect. Love to see that. So, as I said, my name is Jacob Catalano. I am the product manager of our lab's product offerings with Sercante, and I'm excited to be here with 4 amazingly brilliant trailblazers to talk through on a panel their experience in their journey of analytics. So very excited to be diving into this session. Really, all we're going to talk about is their journeys of why they're building dashboards, how they're understanding their data, how they're telling the story of what they're doing properly in their world. We're going to talk through also the topics of what their challenges are for accurate reporting, their journey in finding the best possible solution and best dashboard possible, and ultimately, what can we just do? What is possible with the data in our database? So like I said, the goal is to help you learn from these amazing trailblazers and see how you can do similar things inside of the system. So, excuse me, first things first, we are going to launch a quick poll to ask the question, what is your biggest obstacle when it comes to analytics? So we're going to open that poll right now. If you go to the polls tab, you'll be able to see that pop up on your screen. While you're taking that poll, we're going to thank our incredible sponsors. So without these folks, we would not be able to be here. So again, appreciate everyone for being a part of this from a sponsorship standpoint. And then as everyone's also continuing to fill out this poll, I just want to introduce our panelists today. So with us, we have 2 Sercante Dragons, Cara, Clanton, Pope, and Aaron Stayman, who are leading our analytics program on the marketing intelligence side and CRM analytics side. And then also with us, we have Stephanie Overbey with Advanced Drainage Systems and Dave Henning with Samsung Ads. Stephanie and Dave, you'll want to take a quick second to introduce yourselves? I'll let Dave go first, or Stephanie go first. You're off mute.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stephanie Overbey. I am a digital marketing manager here over at ADS out of Columbus, Ohio. Again, excited to be a part of this panel. I spent a lot of my time actually in my career being on the content side, so it's excited to be on the analytics and speak to you guys today about my organization and our journey with the analytics.
And hey, everybody. Very glad to be here today. My name is Dave Henning. I run the go-to-market analytics for Samsung Ads. Samsung Ads is the advertising ecosystem for Samsung Electronics. So that kind of spans across hundreds of millions of devices and phones, TVs, et cetera. In my role, I help the team define sort of what are we measuring, what's our vision, and just excited to be here today. I think this is a great panel, so thank you for having me.
All right. So I see we all have a new poll answers in here, so I'm going to close this poll. And if we need to reopen it, we can make a comment inside chat to reopen it. With that being said, I want us to dive straight on into kind of the overview of this data and storytelling. So one thing I do want to call out in the poll, we did see that the biggest obstacle we're seeing in the audience is fragmented data sets. We're going to remember that as we dive into this section of the presentation. So when we think of the data and the storytelling we're doing, a lot of times we get hung up on what is the story we are telling to our customers. You have to tell Google where you're going so it can tell you where to go. The thing that we've kind of seen, and we'll reference the State of Marketing report quite a couple times in this presentation, the main challenges marketers are facing are measuring marketing ROI and attribution, building, retaining trust amongst customers, and balancing personalization with your customer comfort levels. So when we think of those last two bullet points, that is the storytelling we are telling our audience. But the biggest struggle we see around, yes, data, you guessed it, that's the answer to all our business questions. The biggest challenge we're seeing, top 35% of marketers are saying ROI and attribution is the top challenge. That is the story we are telling and we are trying to understand from the data we are capturing. And we need to understand how to, whether it be around attribution for what events and what mediums and channels are affecting our ROI and getting us to close deals, or whether it be understanding what pieces of content are performing better and helping with personalization for our audience. We just need to understand what's that story you tell to your executive team, to your marketing leadership team, to understand what's successful and what's not. So when we think of these challenges, we break it into what we kind of talked about, your obstacles with analytics. So fragmented view in tech. Your data is in the CRM, but it's also in 3 different platforms. It's in Google Sheets, it's in Excel, and none of that is talking to Salesforce effectively. Nothing's talking to your main source of truth effectively. Lack of data governance or unified process. Our systems are constantly overriding each other. In Pardot, account engagement, and Salesforce, we are using the sync settings of use the most recently updated value. Now your sales and marketing teams are overriding field values of what you need for reporting and filtering. Lack of accountability. You built a report. Awesome. Now what? You put it in the wrong folder. You didn't share it out. It's not being used by the executive team because it's way too detailed. It's way too much. So how do we actually use these reports and measure the success of these reports that we want to use and share with the team? So knowing these are the challenges, these are some of the big obstacles we're all facing, I want to turn over to the panelists. What was your aha moment to understand we need to make a change? We need to better understand and report on what data is coming into the system. So I'll let Stephanie dive into this one first.
Sure. Yeah. So our aha moment and within ADS was really when we kind of realized that all of our websites and kind of all of our product groups have different microsites and sites, and we wanted to bring them all together as part of like our digital strategy and be able to uncover some insights. So again, and bringing together like that portfolio of products. So we needed a tool that was like an analytics tool that was able to help us solve problems. And with that, uncovered those, fragmented silo data sources, being able to harmonize all that together and then take that a step further, visualize it, uncover some insights, and then be able to report out to our internal team. So that was really our aha moment, was again, bringing it all together.
Yeah. And we see that a lot with just when you're capturing good information, the data's there, but then realizing it's so all over the place. It's so, as you said, fragmented. How can we tell a story and visualize it better so that we can make these proper data-driven decisions? Dave, how about you on the Samsung ad side?
I love what you said, Stephanie. I think we had a kind of similar experience, but just earlier on. So in my role, it's like I said, it's my job to put a stamp on what actually happened. What's the official organization's point of view on a marketing program, an event that we did, a campaign that we've run, et cetera. And in the beginning, I was sort of chasing results and working with the fantastic team that's doing this really great work. And I realized that we were always kind of chasing outcomes and not planning for them. And that was my aha moment, was to kind of take a step back and bring planning into planning for the story that we want to tell, bringing that into the actual planning process to say, imagine yourself in front of your CMO. What's the story that you're going to tell about how successful this was? Let's plan for that to make sure we capture that data. It's linked the right way. We can report on it the right way. And it really helped to align a lot of the downstream processes like the activation and everything.
Love that. And I think so often we get these situations where we have the data and we just want to make sure we have reporting, we have insights for us, the marketers, so that when the executive come to us, we can have a quick answer, but we're not always giving them that that snapshot into our report. We're just giving them a quick overview. So how do we give them a dashboard, give them that insight, so we don't have to have that weekly copy and paste your Salesforce chart, put it into a PowerPoint, and then email it off to the executive team?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I think building on that, it's also selling in, here's the story that we're going to tell you coming out of this. And so if the executive team has any other suggestions or things that they've seen in the past that they really liked or didn't like, it's a great time to build all of that consensus at the beginning.
Love that. And it's interesting you say that, just because recently I was had a conversation with someone, and the idea behind it was, we are marketers. Our job is storytelling. And that is, again, storytelling internally to our executive team, to our leadership, but also to our audience. And how do we have our analytics do both? So I love that kind of framing. So let's think of, this was our aha moment. What was the journey then to get there? So again, thinking through in the polls, we talked about and saw that fragmented data sets was a big issue for us. So how are we integrating our technologies? Whether it's something where our different platforms in our MarTech stack are natively integrating into Salesforce, or we're using Datarama or CRM Analytics and able to use, whether it be an Excel import file to harmonize and get the data organized properly, or whether it's going to be something where, and I speak with Aaron on the Datarama side, marketing intelligence side, I'm going to call it Datarama. So I'm just going to be fully honest with y'all. Same thing with account engagement. It's being called Parda today. But on that Datarama side, it is able to have so many native integrations to other systems. So we're able to, again, keep with our day-to-day, keep with our standard processes, but everything's funneling into one source of truth. People and process. We can have the integration set up perfectly fine all day long till the day is done. But if we are not managing that data correctly, if we're not harmonizing that data correctly, making sure the fields and KPIs we want are talking to each other correctly, then we're back to square one. And then finally, the feedback. Who are the people who are going to be reviewing this dashboard and giving us the insights on that dashboard? And do they like it? Does this accomplish what they are trying to get at the end of the day? We shouldn't make assumptions. We all know the phrasing about assumptions. I'm not going to repeat it. So with that being said, to our panelists, what was your analytics journey like? You had your aha moment. You knew something needed to happen. You knew your journey needed to start. What were you reaching for, and how did you get started with that journey?
Yeah, I can jump in. So for us, I mean, as digital marketers, right, we're constantly asking ourselves questions. And for us, and then with ADS, we're asking, how's our website performing? How are users getting to our website? Is it through our owned or earned? Is it through paid media? What are they doing when they get to our website? How many pages did they visit while they were on our website? Because for us, it was when we brought consolidated a bunch of websites, we wanted to understand, once someone was on our website, were they going to another product page? Because again, that kind of brings together our portfolio, right? And that really drives a lot of value to our customers, where it's like, now they can come to us for all those solutions. So again, we really wanted to understand and have answers to all those questions. Again, it helps us understand more of the why. And again, being able to share those insights, with the bigger audience and explain what that means and why. So for us, we reached towards Datarama, or Marketing Cloud Intelligence. I call it Datarama. It was within the Salesforce suite for us. Again, a lot of it plays in with the Salesforce Pardot and other Salesforce tools that we use. And for Datarama, again, it's all harmonizing in one place. So we're able to pull in our Google Analytics and GA4 now. We're able to pull in Pardot. We're able to pull in all of our marketing campaign data, which is down the road for us. But being able to see that in one visual way and be able to build dashboards on the fly once we get a question, I mean, that's really, really powerful for us. And again, just having all that data live in one central place is really good for us, and being able to tell that story of our marketing funnel. So, top down, that experience of what our customers are seeing. So that's been very, very powerful.
And it kind of is a cool echo, just to kind of bring someone from chat into this, of data siloing. You have all the different website data sources. You have your Pardot. You have all the other things. Again, yes, it's fragmented because it's all over the place, but then also you're only looking at that data in the main source you're looking at for. You're not looking at that data connected to Salesforce. You're not looking at that data connected to other systems. Mm-hmm. And so to bring that together, I think, is a wonderful goal to strive for. So to piggy on that a little bit, how you got started, you decided to come on in and bring in a product that's inside of the Salesforce suite of products. You're implementing Datarama. What were some of the things when you first kind of said, I think Datarama is going to be the good starting point. I'm going to bring in the native Google Analytics connector, start pulling in that website data. Now that you have the data in there, what were some of the things that you kind of hit your brain of, this isn't going to be as easy as just connecting it to Datarama. We have some work to do.
I would say, there is, with Datarama, it's really like plugging in our KPIs. We were able to pull in those specific data points that we wanted to see. We don't have to pull in everything from UA and from GA4, right? So there was some challenges, obviously, with GA4 in the transition just recently. We had to kind of work with Sercante, and they were able to actually help us pull in that GA4 data. We were actually seeing a lot of bot traffic to our website. So for us, it was really valuable to parse that out and still be able to keep that data stream from GA4 to Datarama and be able to tell that story without any of those hiccups, right? As I'm presenting monthly to our internal teams how our website's performing, we didn't want hiccups. So I think with Datarama, it's a little, we really have to kind of work in with it a little bit, but overall, it's been, easy to use. And again, on the fly, and being able to pull down dashboards and quickly send out has been really, really powerful for us.
Love that. So changing it to a non-Datarama side of it, I want to kind of pick Dave's brain a little bit and kind of get your perspective on whether it's CRM analytics or Salesforce reports. Kind of what was your journey like, and what were you really originally striving to accomplish, and what were some of the first steps you used to get started with that?
Yeah, so in my former life, I ran a marketing team, and I think I pestered them to death asking the question why. And I think, Stephanie, that really aligns with what you're saying. You're just like, why does this happen? What does this mean? What's this metric mean, et cetera? And you kind of build on that, and it snowballs, and eventually you get to this really great place. So I transitioned into this role on the analytics side, moving away from the marketing management side, kind of to double down on that and figure out how I could help other teams to answer that question or get to the right question that really helps move their business. I think in my current role, I see a lot of change at Samsung Ads. We're constantly evolving along with the ads industry, and where we started was really with some of the basics in Salesforce, things like leads, prospects, in account engagement / Pardot. Understanding what does that engagement look like, but by starting small and kind of building that buy-in and then growing it from there. Now we're starting to look at some more advanced things like ROI and attribution, really understanding even more custom measurement to see where a campaign was particularly effective versus some other like sales enablement materials and things like that, where we want to attribute revenue back to that as well. So it's been a journey, and I think it's been good just to kind of start with the question and then take little baby steps until you get to a place that you're happy with, and then keep going.
I love the why, because it's so often sometimes, like, to your point, it can be a little cumbersome of like, man, I don't like this marketing operations person. They're asking me why too much, and I need them to just like cool their jets and just be okay with like one quick answer. But we always have to drill down deeper to understand that why. So when you're starting out and you're figuring out what those KPIs should be, well, why are those the KPIs? Understanding, well, it's because we need this type of attribution. We're going to use this campaign and this type of nurture. Why? Well, it's because we've always done, and kind of really diving deeper into that why, I think, isn't harped on enough. So I like that kind of thought process. Aaron and Cara, I kind of want to pick your brains. You've worked with countless clients and with Sercante and outside of Sercante, kind of talking about when you are working with folks getting started on their analytics journey, pulling those dashboards together. What are some of the first things you're recommending people of how do you get started?
Yeah, I mean, I would say from a Datarama perspective, first of all, and I want to say that I love that we're calling it Datarama. It just rolls off the tongue so easily for me. It's what I've been calling it for a very long time. So fully here for that nomenclature, and also just supportive of the idea of that being a great tool for marketers for joining these things together. I think the aha moments for me, there's kind of two different elements. One is really from a technical angle. As somebody who came in, I had a background in retail management before I got into the world of digital analytics. And I think just putting myself in the headspace of constantly asking, not just why, but what else could help me solve the problems that I'm dealing with. Thinking about when I was working prior to this, I was at Bloomingdale's before I went to Salesforce. And I was so often the person who was turned to for like VBA work and automating things and looking at things in SQL. And coming into the world of Datarama, it was really just such a beautiful manifestation of being able to join data in such a clean and concise way. And I think the thing that I would say, and Jacob, let me know if this answers your question or if there's more that you want to dive into here, because I've gone in a lot of different directions. But I would say, bumping up against the wall and learning just that there's no real sky in a platform like Datarama. And frankly, from what I've seen just working in other tools also, there's just so much that you can learn to bump into the ceiling. And finding that ceiling has generally been my aha moment.
I think that is a testament to how powerful that system can be, but also it's similar to Salesforce. You can do so much. The limit is truly your creativity. And so like taking that to the CRM analytics side for Cara, your kind of insights on that side of it, I want to kind of think similarly of how are you going to get started, knowing that the possibilities are endless. You can connect so many data pieces to your standard Salesforce data into custom import files, to custom objects, to so many different things. Kind of because there's so much, what are some of the things you're wanting to recommend to get started for the CRM analytics side of the house?
Yeah, and I think I'm going to buck the system a little bit from what everybody has said and go completely opposite. We're like, start small. It does not have to be. I love that I'm on a panel with like revolutionaries. Y'all are all so smart and went like super far. But like for me, one thing that I think is so powerful is like you don't have to like shoot the moon, if you will. Like little things will really drive a path to show power behind what you're setting up and what you're doing as a marketer. And so don't feel like you have to have this whole revolutionary process. It could be something as simple as like, I have a customer who is, I think, absolutely brilliant and uses levels on their campaigns to be able to see different levels and different hierarchies. And it's a really quick reporting win that they can see and analyze really effectively. And it's not like this, again, massive overhaul, but it's a quick win. And so I think little things like that you can make those inroads to showcase. But kind of tying that back is, what keeps you up at night? If it is something as simple as like, I cannot tell what campaign is on what hierarchy and it's driving me crazy, start small. It is okay. Those little wins will get you there. But like if we are thinking, big picture, I think a lot of the data silo questions and things that people have come up with, especially in the chat, that's what I love about analytics, is it gives you so much more flexibility in the tool to be able to join a lot of those pieces that feel at times they can feel very separate, and helps you really key in and tie that story together so you can execute from like first touch all the way down to that close one opportunity, which is what I think most people are trying to be able to see, so you can see what your ROI is. It really, really helps you get into that flow easy and be able to execute on it. So anyway, I hope that answers the question, but I would go the opposite of what everybody else has said.
Well, and I think that's a perfect segue into, we want to understand our data. We have kind of clear goals initially, but because these systems are complex, there is a lot to do with it. I'm kind of curious, to your point there, you can get some quick wins with these solutions. So I want to bring it back to Stephanie with your website and integrating the website data. What were some of the quick wins, or what was a big quick win that you used to help get that buy-in and keep moving things forward?
Yeah, I don't know if it was necessarily one quick thing, but now we have like a pulse. I love to say that, a pulse on our digital health. So it's when, something that happens within the Google world or just within our website, we're able to see that and react quickly to it. Whereas, if we had those fragmented data pieces, on their own, we might not have seen that, or we might have seen it, but a little bit later. So having like a, system like Datarama, we're able to hop in and say, oh, that because of this update that Google made 2 months ago, we're seeing a huge drop in like our undefined traffic. And this is the real scenario that we're talking about. So this happened 2 months ago, and we're starting to see this like real drop in total users to into our website. So it's like, we're digging into that going, what happened right there? Google made an update, and then that, again, maybe it's not necessarily a bad thing for us when we really look at it. It was actually it was a good thing, right? Whereas, they're pulling out that data, bot traffic potentially. So again, it was having those insights quickly where we're being able to tell that story to a bigger group going, hey, we're seeing users down to our website, but overall page views, sessions, like all that is very consistent and up year over year. Again, being able to provide that value to our organization and to our team, saying, this is okay, but we're seeing this here and we're going to keep monitoring this. So having that place and plan, being able to move forward with that information. So again, just having that pulse on the data is really, really, really helpful and insightful for us.
Yeah, it's amazing when you have all the data there, but you're not visualizing a certain way, but you know what that thing is. And then all of a sudden you plug it in and it's boom, right in front of you. That's so powerful to have, to then get that buy-in. It's like, oh, we were able to so quickly get that level of insight. Let's keep the ball rolling. Mm-hmm. Dave, I'm curious now on your side, I say the Datarama and non-Datarama and sides of it all. Kind of what were some of the things you used to kind of get that quick win, realizing that overall the projects that you're trying to develop, the reports you're trying to develop, aren't the easiest of things to capture, especially once we start talking about attribution and other stuff like that. What were some of the quick wins you used to say, hey, we can analyze this data, let's keep the ball rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. A while back, my CMO had asked for really like an executive level dashboard that touched the 10,000 foot view into all of the different performance metrics related to our marketing organization. She really wanted to sell and continues to want to sell all the great work that the team is doing and building awareness. You can imagine all the types of KPIs. And at the time, I was sort of building familiarity with the different data sets that were available because this included Salesforce, but expanded into a number of other different data sets as well. So I was actually working with Cara and Jacob on this project. We had sort of like a fun kickoff to say, here's what I want to do. You tell me if I'm nuts. And I'll sort of I'm going to take that as a first step. I just want to know kind of what's feasible. Are we going down the right path in terms of a tool, et cetera? And from there, I went and sat by myself, worked on basically a framework that said, these are all the different data sets. This is the measurement story that we want to tell, framed it out into different categories. So it had that sort of 10,000 foot view, but then also we got down to that, the view on the ground level to say, it's this metric, it's this point of view on that metric, this is the time series, et cetera. And validated that with the team, and then brought that to my leadership team to say, here's the first recommendation. Here's what we want to build. Do we have buy-in before we move forward and start building this? We got the yes with some changes, and then started building it. And that sort of back and forth really helped to sort of keep things aligned, I'll say. So I think the quick win for me was building something tangible for people to react to say, oh, you're missing this one thing potentially, and not saying, well, what if we did it this way or that way? It's kind of more about refinement versus creating something net new.
And I think that kind of goes into this slide of the process of a quick win doesn't have to be, I mean, to Stephanie's point, it's good that a quick win is like, here is the data, here's what we can capture quickly. But a quick win doesn't have to be like, show me an end result that we can action on. It can just be, do you understand, have you identified your KPIs? And I want us to remember that while this is like a recommended process of like, identify your KPIs, get stakeholder buy-in, execute and collect the feedback, this is by no means a quick nor formulaic process. This is something that can take time, because so often we are creatures of, I have been told I need to complete task A, B, C. So I execute and complete task A, B, C. When in actuality, we need to ask the why, ask the what else, and say, these are my KPIs and these are the data points that accomplish that. Does that make sense for this story we're trying to tell? To get that stakeholder buy-in, taking that next level of the why and the what else, go to the stakeholder and push back. Be okay and feel comfortable pushing back on what some of these data points may be. So, and also to make sure you're properly aligning your tech. Sometimes it's not easy to integrate all these systems together, and to make sure you're harmonizing the right data points to make sure the systems are talking to each other properly has to go through multiple iterations. And then finally, again, we execute and collect that feedback like we talked about earlier, making sure that you've built the dashboard, you've gotten the buy-in from the stakeholders, but was your intention of building this dashboard what the end user actually expected to get? So making sure that we can follow this flow, understand the KPIs being a really important piece of this, is something that I think we can all agree is not easy, but so very important to your earlier quick win point, Dave. So then we've gone through this process, we've gone through this journey. Again, this was not an overnight journey. This was a long journey, but we're getting some good pieces. What are some of the things that you're asking now? What you've aligned, captured, implemented, you have the dashboard. OMG, this is amazing. What are you doing with it now? And I want to go into Stephanie first, because you have done a lot of great work with your dashboard building and you're actioning on these dashboards. So I'd love to kind of hear, what are you doing now with this information?
Yeah, no, again, we just aligned our data, we've defined our KPIs and, built our dashboard, to your point, and I think for us, I mean, it's building, getting stakeholder buy-in, but it's also like helping them understand and building sort of like a data literacy around what we're doing. We, as marketers, I think we often see, people might know the how, why we might create a brochure, where we're going to put it on, if it's going to go through, an email list that we already built, or we are putting a brochure on the website to see, how many downloads it's going to be. It's like people can kind of know that. But I think it's building that why, again, building on what we're talking about, right? Where it's like why are we doing what we're doing? And again, I think data literacy has a big part of that. And especially with our customers, being able to tell that story on our website, what they're doing, how long they're there, what they're searching for. That example of consolidating all of our data, we were able to see, because of maybe the websites were built separately, once they were all under one roof, we were able to go back and go, oh, because of that page being on its own, now that it's on the, our new website, we're seeing so much more traffic and so much more page views. So again, I think that piece is, again, really, really valuable for us. And again, just answers those questions as digital marketers, which we don't always have the answers, which is part of our research, but it's a really great thing.
It's the fun journey we deal with as marketers with executive members of what does your gut say about this campaign versus what does the data say about this campaign?
Yep.
Being able to say, no, I get you have 30 years of experience and your gut says this, but the data says something else completely. So like we should probably go with the data.
Yeah.
So I love that kind of breakout. So knowing we have about 9 minutes left, I want to go to kind of the last slide of the questions for everyone and kind of dive in deep of what advice do you have for people who are getting started? So we've given and talked through our journey and our process of everything. And I want to kind of let Dave start in on this. What advice would you give to people who are early in their process of integrating the data? They still have a lot of fragmented data, but they know they need to get started somehow. So like what's the first step, or what's the big piece of advice you would provide for someone in that situation?
Sure. I really think it's just about getting started and getting your hands dirty, because you don't know what you don't know yet until you're really in there. Seeing how the data is constructed, its provenance, the time ranges, format, everything about it. So I think that really gives you some credibility and gives you a sense for where you might have knowledge gaps. My other piece of advice is, once you do have kind of things, you feel like you're starting to get into a good place, remove the noise. If you're test driving a dashboard or taking somebody through it, and this is that art and science standpoint with marketing, like you have the data is telling you one thing, but if your storytelling doesn't match what's on the dashboard, it's just a distraction. So take things out that don't work for you. So I think there's a balance of adding stuff in, but also kind of removing things. So that would be my suggestions.
I love that. Cara and Aaron, you are in the systems on such a frequent basis, and you have heard the gambit of different kind of situations that customers and different companies are experiencing when they're trying to build their dashboard. What's the quick piece of advice you would give to people who are just starting out on their journey?
I have two quick things that I would say. One is, one of the things that I see a lot, regardless of the tools, is that there are often excess licenses sitting around. So I would advise people to check what's in your organization, see if there's opportunities to poke your head in just with the resources that you've got. I think people are often not very quick. I think people are reasonable in their processes to buy new software, but I think that it can seem like there's some golden solution out there. And I tend to believe that a lot of these tools are really what you make of them. So check what your organization has access to. And my even quicker piece of guidance is, it wouldn't be the year 2023 if I didn't mention AI. If you're really stuck and without a place to start, Google Bard, ChatGPT might have ideas for you also, and what you should be doing with your data and what the best fitting solution is for you.
I think, to piggyback off what Aaron said, a lot of times it's using what you have too, and getting started with there, and then proof in the pudding of why it works or why it doesn't. So I think a lot of the customers that I work with have either don't realize that they have analytics as a part of their Pardot package, which I think surprisingly comes up a lot. You have it if you have Plus and above, and so it's right there ready for you to execute on. It's just a matter of installing it. And so I think if you can get over that hurdle of install, which can seem a little scary, I think it kind of opens up a lot. That's how I literally how I taught myself, is that nobody else wanted to touch it, and so I went in and tried to create a dashboard. I was like, here's a question that I'm asking, can I execute on it? And then just kind of reiterated on that, because I think I'm going to hit on what Dave said, like that reiteration. It should not be something that is stagnant. It's something that you should continuously be improving upon and using. And so analytics doesn't just mean using one of these tools. Like you can do some form of analytics truly within just a Sales Cloud report. Might not look as pretty, but I mean, you'll be able to get there and get some, like I said, some good analysis. It's just a matter of starting and asking those questions and not being afraid to kick the tire and challenge whether or not something is reporting on what you think it is, and then showing up with an improvement or trying to find an improvement.
I love that. So really quickly, then we're going to transition to live QA. We have about 5 minutes left in our session, just to know that as we've talked about kind of key tips for success, make sure you're validating your data. To Cara's point, play around with the systems, but also just play around with the data. Some of I think all of us here have had our fair share of just go into Excel and play with that, like play with the data and just understand how it's manipulated, how you understand it. And then from there, figure out how you can get into the actual system. So these are some really good key tips. We'll be making sure everyone gets the slide deck afterwards. Before we go into the questions and final QA, I do want to launch a quick survey for everyone. So please feel free, if you can, to fill out said survey. And with that being said, I would love to dive into some live Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to go into the Q&A bucket or post in chat. We do have one question from someone. What tools, options, and or KPIs do you use to most accurately show and analyze email analytics outside of the click-through data that has issues with all the open rate data issues that have come up?
I'll kind of throw in my 2 cents because I've had this long-standing hatred for opens. I just don't think they say anything, and I might just, like I said, maybe it's a little bit of a strong stance, but I think what you really want to start looking at is more of that response engagements. Obviously, I think clicking with email isn't necessarily the most. I don't think there's always like the most that you can derive from that, but I think that's why I like campaign influence, because a lot of times it's the journey. It's not just one email and that one specific click. There's a lot of engagement that they're doing. So for me, it's really more so about what type of engagement. Like, are they actually following up with the action from the email? And I think, in my opinion, that's kind of you want to go almost like one step further. All right, they clicked on this email. That's great. But then did they fill out that form? Did they attend that webinar? Did they, meet up with that referral group? And did that help get that conversation with the sales rep and didn't close, right? You're looking at that journey, which I think is a more, I just think it tells you more of like what you actually need to be able to like change your campaigns and make it effective. It's like I'm answering a question, but
you took the words out of my mouth.
I was like, I know everybody wants to like still focus on email opens. So don't hate me for saying I hate opens as a metric. Sorry.
I feel like you're 100%, Cara. And one thing that I found helpful with teams in the past is to ask, what are you trying to do with this email? Like, is it an invitation to something? Then I don't care necessarily if somebody opened it. Ultimately, I want to know, did that person come to the event? And understood there's a lot of steps in between there, but kind of keeping that eye on the bigger picture, that holistic view, I think also really helps, because it's important to understand each step, but it's also easy to get kind of stuck if something gets taken away, or if you don't have open rates anymore. There's still a lot of valuable data that you can access.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, thinking through also, it's also like relating the campaign for that email to a form, a landing page, using UTM parameters to track that kind of journey from email to your website and then website to conversion, and kind of using that. How long were they engaging with your website? Pulling in some of that Google Analytics information, being able to understand, was the purpose of that email to just click, or was it to convert on that click? And then just taking it that next step. Again, asking the why and then asking that what else. All right, well, we have about 40 seconds left. I appreciate everyone's time on today's session. Closing out the survey. so that everyone can see that we have coming up next. We have unifying your marketing funnel campaign members, getting ready for the AI revolution, and Data Cloud 5 tips for getting started. Thank you all so very, very much. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out to us through chat throughout this whole event. We really appreciate your time today. Three, two, one.